friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. If you have ever had an abundance of zucchini and you were trying to figure out what to do with it, this video is for you. I want to show you how you can turn zucchini into different flavored fruits without canning. Now, in a past video, we showed you how to turn your zucchini into canned pineapple via canning. But what if you don't want to can? Maybe you don't want to get your kitchen super hot in this time of year when it's already really hot outside and inside. Maybe you want something quick and easy. Maybe you're constrained on time. You just need to do something fast. Maybe you don't know how to can yet. Whatever the reason is, this is one way that you can turn your zucchini into all different types of flavors without canning. Let's get started.
By the way, if you would like help building your food storage, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for our free 1-year food storage plan. We calculated a year's supply of food for one person, then broke that data down into a week-by-week list of items to build your pantry on a budget. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss all of our upcoming food preservation, pantry storage, and gardening tutorials. Now back to the kitchen.
The first thing we're going to do is get our fruit juice boiling. Now, this is something that you have a lot of different options with. When we're canning, we need to be very careful about the acidity of the juice that we're using because zucchini is a low acid vegetable. And this is the pineapple zucchini that we do is a water bath canning recipe. But when you are dehydrating, which is what we're going to do today, you don't have to worry about acidity because the bad bacteria, botulism, other sorts of foodborne bacteria can't survive with absolutely no moisture whatsoever. And when you're dehydrating, you're taking out almost all the moisture. So it's not an issue. We don't have to worry about acidifying our vegetables. So we have a lot more wiggle room for how we want to flavor this. Now, I have been really enjoying the cranberry line from Ocean Spray, where it's cranberry mixed with all sorts of other different flavors. We have tried, this is the cranberry peach. It's one of our favorites. We've tried cranberry watermelon and the cranberry strawberry. All of those have been fantastic. But you can use any type of fruit juice that you want. Think about what your end flavor that you want and then just pick the fruit juice that matches up with that. The end product is going to be a slightly chewy dehydrated fruit chunk. Now, if you are like slicing something like apples or like strawberries and you dehydrate them, you know that they're not chewy. They're like they almost, they crisp, they break when you break them in half, and it's good in trail mix, but I especially, my children especially, but I as well, like when we're doing trail mix, we like that little bit of chewiness in our trail mix, and that's what this end product is going to produce for you. It's going to produce a chunk about that big, like a little square, a little half moon shape actually, and it's going to be completely dried, completely shelf stable, but it is going to remain or retain some of its chewiness. So think about what type of flavor you want that to be. Now, it doesn't have to be in trail mix, of course, but just think about what kind of flavor you want that to be and use that to decide what kind of fruit that you want. The first step is going to be bringing it up to a boil. Now, I have 2 quart jars left over from when I did my canning, the canned zucchini and the canned pineapple. This is the pineapple juice left over from that, and that, I think I mentioned it in that video, that if you're going to be doing that, you can simply save whatever leftover juice that you have, put that in your refrigerator, and use that to do this project, which is dehydrated chunks. So that's what I'm going to do first. We have multiple batches here. I have 10 of these zucchini that are about this size, massive. I have about 10 of them, so I have a whole lot of dehydrated zucchini that we're going to be doing. And I'm going to be doing them in different batches, but I will just show you one flavor so that this video isn't an hour long. But we have pineapple. This is the cranberry strawberry, really yummy, and then I'm going to be doing a batch of the cranberry peach. Even though it is mixed with cranberry, it has more of that secondary fruit flavor, meaning the cranberry peach tastes more like peach, the cranberry strawberry tastes more like strawberry. But I just find that the mixture of the cranberry, I don't know what it is, it's probably the tartness that really gives that really strong flavor to the zucchini that we're going for. So we need to bring whatever fruit juice we're using to a boil, and that can go ahead and be coming to a boil while we are peeling and slicing and all of that to our zucchini. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on high so that it can be coming up to a boil while we do the next steps. The first step in preparing our zucchini is to cut off the ends so that we can use a vegetable peeler and get it peeling. This particular zucchini variety, one reason why I love it is because all the seeds are down here in the bulb. So I'm just going to cut off this whole bulb. But if you're using a regular zucchini, after you cut off your ends, you would want to, actually you probably want to go ahead and peel first. That would make more sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and get to peeling. You can certainly use a knife for this if you want. This vegetable peeler makes it go a lot faster. But once you get it peeled, if you're using a regular zucchini, you know that those seeds are all throughout the whole zucchini. So you would want to cut your zucchini in half lengthwise, like right here, lengthwise, and get a spoon and scoop out all the seeds before moving to the next step. Like I said, all the seeds in this particular zucchini variety is down here, so I don't have to do that. So I'm ready to move on to the next step, where we just simply start cutting it. Now with dehydrated zucchini, again, you have more wiggle room than we have with canning, so you don't have to cut these in any particular size. With canning, we want to be careful with sizing because we need to be careful about the density of the end product. We want the heat to be able to penetrate all the way through the center of the fruit or the vegetable, but that's not the issue with dehydrating. I'm still going to cut mine the same way as I do when I'm canning the pineapple zucchini, and that is to create little half moon shapes. So I cut it in half lengthwise, and then I cut them like this so that it's just like a little half moon shape. That's just how I've always done it. But like I said, you do not have to do it any particular way when you are doing this dehydrating project. So go ahead and cut it however you want. I know I've seen some people who cut little triangles like this. That might be good too. If you're trying to mimic a certain fruit, it might be nice to try to cut the shape of your zucchini into the shape of that type of dried fruit. You know, that might be good. But anyway, we're just going for chunks that will simmer in our fruit really well. Now you do want to peel. Don't skip the peeling step on this zucchini because we need that fruit juice to penetrate through each of these chunks and really saturate the chunk with that fruit juice. And that peel will kind of block that from happening. It won't saturate the individual zucchini chunks as well if you don't peel it. So go ahead and peel it. It's not a safety issue like it is with canning. You want to peel things for canning because it's a safety issue. With dehydrating, peeling is not a safety issue. You could certainly safely dehydrate something without peeling it, but for this particular recipe, it's the juice penetration that we're needing to really saturate that whole zucchini chunk so that it tastes like that fruit juice and less like zucchini. As you can see, our fruit juice is boiling, so our zucchini is ready to go in. Once the zucchini is in, I don't really need to mix this up very much because it's not a whole lot. But you can certainly get you a spoon and mix it up if you need to. But at this point, we can lower it down to medium. We don't want it to, we still want it to be like a really high simmer, but it doesn't have to be a hard rolling boil. So I'm just going to do medium and then set a timer for 10 minutes and let this zucchini cook in the juices for 10 minutes to really help that fruit juice penetrate all of the zucchini chunks and impart their flavor. Okay, I have taken my juice off the heat. Now I mentioned that I'm going to be doing several different batches, so I did want to show, this part so that you can just kind of get an idea of workflow if you're wanting to do multiple different fruit flavors at one time. So I would transfer the whole fruit and juice and all into a bowl for this to cool off. And I would just set this to the side so that I can start my next fruit juice. I'm going to go ahead and use up the rest of this cranberry peach. I'm going to do that next. So I'll just pour that in. Get that back onto the eye and bring that back up to a boil. And in the meantime, I am going to be chopping and continuing to slice all of this zucchini. And once that's back up to a boil, I'll do the same thing. Pour the zucchini in, let it simmer for 10 minutes. And in the meanwhile, these will be cooling off. so that we don't have any accidental melting of our dehydrator trays. You do want the zucchini to be almost at room temperature. It can be warm, but not super hot before it goes onto our dehydrator trays. One quick note that I thought about while I'm waiting for my second batch of zucchini to get done simmering is how much juice you need, depending on how much zucchini you need. You don't need any particular measurement, but you do want your zucchini to be submerged by your juice. So ever how much zucchini you have, just make sure that it is submerged by the juice level. That's why I like to have an extra container of juice on hand, because I never know how much zucchini I'm going to have coming in at one time, or how much zucchini I'm going to need to fill up my dehydrator trays. And I don't like to run my dehydrator half full. I always like to do it full, and I don't know for sure, how much I'm going to need. So keeping an extra container of juice on hand in your pantry is just a good idea, just to make sure that you have enough to submerge ever how much zucchini that you have that you need to process. Okay, we still have some more zucchini going on the stovetop, but this first batch of zucchini is now warm enough to be able to put onto our dehydrator trays without being concerned that they'll melt them. So the only thing we do here is lay them out on our dehydrator trays. I like to use this big spoon ladle thing. It's really nice. It's huge, so I can get a lot more at a time. But you don't need to like wring this stuff out with a paper towel or a towel. It's fine. Your dehydrator will dehydrate it just fine. The one thing you do want to be sure of is to spread your zucchini chunks out so that they're not overlapping each other. It's okay if they're touching here and there, but you just don't want to overlap them. You definitely want to do just one single layer. It's not like a freeze dryer where you can, pile them up on top of each other. You do want one single layer when doing these. And just a little tip for you, the bigger the chunk of the food is, the more you want to space them out. And that's because dehydrators, if they are overpacked, have a tendency to dehydrate like on the outside, but leave the inside of the fruit or vegetable still undehydrated, still moist. And we don't want that, of course. We need the fruit completely and totally dry for being shelf stable. So don't overcrowd your jars or your trays. And this particular cut is, it's pretty thick, so it's not like a thin slice, and it's certainly not like a mince, like something we would do with peppers. I can usually load my tray up pretty good if it's something really small and minced, like minced bell peppers. But the bigger the chunk, the more airflow you need to provide them. So I'm just going to spread these out in a single layer. Get one last scoop here. And I don't label my trays, like when I'm doing different flavors, I don't label my trays. You certainly can. What I do is just when the trays come out, we just eat one, and we can easily identify what flavor it is. So then when I store that done but zucchini chunks into a quart jar, I can just put a little sticky label on that quart jar, or just label the lid with a Sharpie of what kind of flavor it is. But if you want to make sure to keep your trays separate and label them, that's fine too. Okay, we're going to put these into the dehydrator at 125 degrees Fahrenheit and just go until it's done. It's going to be probably at least 8 hours. It could go even longer, as far as like 12 to 14 hours. I'll show you the signs that it's done when we come back. Okay, they are done. They were in the dehydrator for about 12 hours. And I wanted to show you, give you a kind of a close-up look of what they should look like when you bring them out of the dehydrator, because it is a little bit different than a lot of our other dehydrated goods. A lot of our other dehydrated goods, when we bend them, we want them to break and make a sharp, crisp noise. But as you can see, these remain flexible. I can fold it, it's not breaking. I can squeeze it, it gives. And normally that would be the sign that it's not done. But with the zucchini, and this goes for any of your very high sugar fruits, the higher the sugar content, the more pliable and shiny that it will be, even when it's thoroughly dry. So because we soaked these zucchini chunks in all of that fruit juice, it's as if it was a fruit as far as testing doneness. after being dried. So it is going to remain pliable. It's going to give when you squeeze it. You're going to be able to squeeze it. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up. Actually, this one's really not very shiny, but some of them are. I'll try to find one. Well, these aren't very shiny. When I first took them out of the dehydrator, they were still very shiny. That is one note that I want to say. Don't test doneness until they have come to room temperature. So turn your dehydrator off and then let your trays either sit there for an hour or so, or go ahead and take them out and set them on your counter, and then they'll cool off a whole lot faster, and you can check within like 10 or 15 minutes. But wait until they are room temperature to check. But anyway, if this fleshy part right here could still be a little bit glistening, could still be a little bit shiny, which is usually a no-no, but it's okay for this recipe. And the last test is to tear it apart. Remember, it doesn't really break apart very easily, so you got to tear it apart. And the inside, if you squeeze it, you don't want to see any water droplets forming on this cut part right here. So squeeze and make sure you're not seeing any droplets form right here, or any kind of like oozing right here. And hopefully you can see that there is nothing coming out, no oozing, no bubbles, no water droplets, anything like that. And so these are done. Okay, as far as storage, I'm just gonna pour these into a quart jar. Probably all 3 of these trays will likely fit inside of a quart jar, and then I will just vacuum seal it and it will sit on my shelf just like that. However, these don't last very long. I don't generally package these up for very long-term storage because they don't last long in our house. They are very delicious. So if you missed the canning pineapple zucchini recipe, we'll link that on the screen right around there, and the link down in the description box. That's all for today, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye!